Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, welcome to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Rachael Quinn.
And I'm Abigail Reed.
I'm so happy you guys could make it here to the show. I'm so happy that you guys said yes. I was like, oh yes.
Thank you so much for having us. We've been so excited about this.
Oh, I'm excited too because you guys are a duo. You guys write, direct. You're actresses. You also have a hand in casting. Like you do it all. Like, how did you guys meet?
So we met in college at Franklin and Marshall in Pennsylvania. I was a transfer student Abby's freshman year. And so we it was one of those funny things where it was definitely like a development of friendship. Like at first to start off, we were just, we didn't really mind each other. Like we just we just had our own lives for like a year.
We didn't super get along in the beginning. Just, I make terrible first impressions. This is a story for another time, but I've gotten a lot better. But I was really nervous when I first met Rachael. So I didn't come off the best.
I was also like a sophomore who was suddenly stuck with a bunch of freshmen that was like, I'm over this. I'm just, anyway.
Yeah.
But then my junior year, I directed Bye Bye Birdie, and Abby played Albert's mother. And we had a lot more mutual friends at that point. So we started all kind of hanging out in a group. And then we took a acting for camera class with Jason Narvey. And we ended up like, I think, what was it, after class one day, because we were both trying to like feel out how to be friends, and like, because like we'd always had like these group friendships, and it's always that like weird, like almost like you're asking someone out, when you want to like hang out with them by yourselves. And so we're like walking home one day and Abby just goes, do you like Fun Dip? And I was like, yes. She's like, great, I have a box of it. And so
I had just gotten this giant box of Fun Dip. I think it was, I don't remember why I had that, but it was this huge box of Fun Dip, and I was trying to figure out how to get rid of it and also how to be friends with Rachael. So I was like, maybe I'll just solve one problem with another.
And then from there, we became roommates with a couple girls my senior year, her junior year. And then I worked at a production house while Abby finished up her schooling, and actually ended up crashing with me for a little bit because there was a whole rooming situation coming back from abroad. And then we just both wanted to move to LA, and we knew we lived well together. So we came out here and started co-pet parenting and everything else. And,
I love that. What an awesome story. Wow. It's Fun Dip. Who would have thought? I'm going to use
I know. We should have like a sponsorship right now.
Bringing people together since 2015.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you guys work together. You guys have your individual things that you guys do as well. I mean, why acting? Why directing, writing? Why this industry?
So, at least for me, for both of us, we've always these are things that we've always just loved since we were little. They were things that just from conversations, there were things that both of us were always identified for, that people started noticing and praising us for very early on. For me, I started off doing more, I just had a really good memory. So I started doing acting at my church. I remember the first time someone said to my mom that I was a really good thespian in the making. I had no idea what that meant. But I was, happy about it. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, it started off as more like an acting, directing, writing was added in about third or fourth grade. And then my junior year, we took this, I took like this dance and movement class with our theater director, Pat Cowder, who was just amazing. I loved her. And I took it. I'm not really a dancer. My sister's a dancer. I'm not really a dancer, but I took it for her. And at the end, we had to do this dance music video. And I ended up putting like 90 hours of editing in iMovie into it, like a 20-minute, like there was a story. There were like 8 songs, you know, and like
classic Rachael.
Yeah, I spent most of my break. Like I remember one of the kids in the project like came over to visit me during Christmas break, and I hadn't left my room all day. Like I was just like sitting up there editing. But yeah, and then that the head of the film department pulled me aside because that got put in a festival at the school. And then so my senior year, he was awesome, and we had like 6 levels of Comtech. And he basically was like, take my intro to Comtech class. And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, I promise you can use the equipment. You can make whatever you want. So I did that. I made a video. And then for the second, we had block scheduling. So for the second half of the year, he was amazing and worked out this deal with me where I could take like 2 through 6 kind of like as an independent study thing. So I could kind of hop around. And yeah, and so it just kind of like film came out of nowhere at the last second, but it combined everything I loved together. And I went into college for theater and writing with a minor in film, and I ended up coming out with a film major and a minor in theater and a focus in creative writing. So all kind of shuffled. But yeah, so that's my end of things.
Kind of opposite for me in a lot of ways. When I was little, first I wanted to be a chemist, and then that stopped pretty quickly. I don't know where that came from, but so when I was really little, I wanted to be an author. I was really into, my favorite book series at the time was the Warriors series, like with the cats, you know, I love that series so much. And I really wanted to be an author. So I was like writing my books about animals. I was not super creative with the names. I think the wolf character in my forest animal book was named Wolfie.
Which is ironic because Abby comes up with like all of our character names now.
Yeah, now I'm pretty good at character names, but I was not great then. So then I was like writing books at like 10 or something. They weren't good, but I was writing them. And then when I was in middle school, my mom wouldn't let me try out for the plays until like 7th grade. Like in elementary school, I really wanted to try out for the plays. And I think my mom was just like she didn't want me to have to deal with like the rejection of it. And like, she just didn't want me to have to deal with it. And I like just hounded her. Like I nagged her for years until she let me try out for a play. And it was actually a musical. It was The Lady Pirates of Captain Bree. And I think my character's name was Julia Prescott. She was got captured by the pirates, and she was like the rich woman's daughter that they got captured by the pirates, and then she became a pirate.
You do have a typecast. Like the rich girl that also is kind of. I like should have known.
Well, I always end up playing. Now I always end up playing like really mean people. I ended up playing Satan in college.
Oh my God!
Fun. But yeah, then it was kind of I fell in love with it, and then I really started focusing on acting and. In high school, and I was still really, really focused on writing. So when I went to college, I was actually going to major in creative writing and potentially minor in theater. And then I eventually was just like, you know what, I want to actually do this, and I want to put my mind to it. So then I started really focusing on acting, and I think the writing actually that came back when we were out here living together. We started doing, I took like screenplay classes and everything and enjoyed it, but that came back more in full swing when we were out here and we started working on The Fallen, and the producing came out of nowhere, but that was a whole different.
Isn't that funny how things just kind of, it's interesting. So, okay, you get to LA, you're living together. Talk about some of the challenges that you guys face too. I'm sure you guys face a few challenges coming to LA.
There was a lot.
Move well.
Yeah, we don't move well. I mean, getting out here wasn't terrible.
Yeah, getting out here
wasn't terrible. It did help that you know, at that point, like Abby was fresh out of school, but had a lot of savings that she'd like saved up over college. I had just been working a full-time job. So like, I will say like moving out here was a little easier because there was some cushion. And also, you know, our parents were like terrified that we were going to just, you know, end up homeless. So
our parents, my dad helped me find the apartment because we got here, like I got a job and like I had to go to work and we had 2 days to find the place for me to live.
Yeah. It was one of those things where it was like, you know, like the pressure to like find a job enough ahead of time. But at the same time, as soon as Abby found a job, they're like, great, you have like what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, it wasn't even like I was working at my parents' inn at the time. I couldn't even give them 2 weeks notice.
Oh, that's right. It was like 1 week you had to be out here.
They were like, you have to be out here in a week. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was finishing up shooting a feature film. So I came out like a couple weeks after. But yeah, it was pretty chaotic. I mean, that tends to sum up our lives in general, but in like a fun way, you know? But we tend to, I mean, I think it makes us better at production though. We're really good at pivoting. So, you know, we're like, okay, cool. Well, we'll go out in mid-August and suddenly Abby gets a job mid-July. And so, you know, you're just, okay, cool.
That's what's happening.
So, yeah, it was very, very, I think getting out here wasn't as difficult. My dad drove out with me and we had this giant SUV. I will say one of the biggest tips when you're moving out here is the IKEA as is section is so nice. This couch that we've got that we've had for like 3 years now, we got it for 50% off because it had been a home. So we got it. But the only problem with the as is section is like you can't store things there. You have to take everything with you and it's already built. And so I don't know how we did it, but my dad and I managed in like this rented SUV. We fit this entire couch, like pieces, and then also a queen size bed and a queen size mattress. And I think there was something else, but anyway, but we like, I don't know how. He's an engineer, so it helped, but it was like Tetris for like a solid hour outside of IKEA.
Dads are good at that.
Yeah.
Like, but somehow we fit my entire life into my Highlander, and that I overpack. So it was
same.
Yeah, we have this like famous picture, well, infamous picture where famous. No, infamous in my family of like the car when we were about to head out, and it was just like full to the top, like, and my dad, I don't have the mug, it's over there, but my dad brought his Inn at Pleasant Lake mug. That's the inn that my parents own, and he was doing it like flat Stanley, like we would stop at places and take pictures with the mug and everything. But this first picture, it's the first picture of the road trip, and the mug is just sitting on top of one of my suitcases where there was actually a flat surface. Like,
I remember Abby saying something like, she was like, I asked her how packing was going, and she said she fit everything, all of her clothes into 3 suitcases. And I was super impressed until I saw how massive these suitcases were. It's huge. Like there's so much stuff. We've definitely like over time, because we've moved almost every year. Actually, yes, every year. Multiple times in one of the years.
Wow.
We were in LA. So you definitely start finding things that you're like, I've never used this. I don't know why this is here. But there's so much pressure when you move across the country. Yeah, because like, it's not like when I was living, you know, like 20 minutes away from my parents' house and I could just come back and grab things as I needed them. And we really didn't know what we were going to be expecting. Like when I moved out here, I wasn't expecting to do any acting. I'd kind of decided I'd be practical. And then we got out here and I was like, you know what? I'm here. I have some savings from working. I'm just doing some part-time work right now. And I started doing background so that I could try to get in on the like PA and crewing side of things. And just like make connections and understand how the sets run out here, because they're so different. But it was just kind of like I decided to give myself a shot at acting. And then, you know, I always say the first year of LA was me discovering that I wanted to do exactly what I'd always wanted to do and what everyone knew I wanted to do. Like I came out here, I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. And then at the end of the year, I was saying, okay, I'm going to focus on acting, directing, writing, and producing. And people are like, well, yeah, duh, Rachel, that's like what you do. I was like, okay, well, I had to figure it out a little bit, but
yeah. I mean, and then you guys came up with this amazing series, The Fallen. I mean, how did that come about?
So I'm a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's one of my favorite shows. It was one of my favorite shows as a kid too. My brother and I would watch it together. It was like our time together was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I was like, I found out that Rachael hadn't seen it, and I was like, oh my God, you so like it's such a cult classic. So and like we both love like that like supernaturally type show. So we started watching it. Well, so
we
first
just watched
actually
Dollhouse.
Yeah, first actually, Dollhouse is one of my favorites of Joss Whedon's, and so I showed her that first to kind of give her an introduction.
Well, it wasn't I already seen Fire.
Well, yeah, you'd seen Fire. It's a little, I don't know, they're very different, but Dollhouse I really loved, and it was I thought it was really well done. Only 2 seasons, so I was like, okay, well, before I make you like sit down and watch, like I'll show you Dollhouse, and like obviously that show has some like amazing acting opportunities. So like as an actor watching it, we're both like, oh my gosh, like drooling over this show, like this would be amazing. And then we started watching Buffy, and we got halfway through the pilot, and it just like totally inspired us. We were like, let's write a high school show. We should like
I was looking at it with production brain, and I was like, okay, like seeing like some of the ways that they like cut corners, especially in the pilot, and we're like trying to, and I was like, what, that's doable. Like you can do that pretty, not like cheap, but like pretty cheap for the film industry.
Well, something where like we were both like so interested in like finding out like the stuff on the back end. So like we knew that it was fairly low budget in the beginning, but like we're watching it and we're like, this is really impressive for being like as low budget as it was, and in the 90s too. So we were like, wow, okay, well, this is actually something that we could do. So we
I don't think we finished the pilot that night.
We did not finish. No, we didn't finish the pilot.
We didn't finish the Buffy pilot. We just like sat down and we were like, okay. And our concept is drastically different, but it does have that evolved. It's drastically, no. I mean, like, it's still like very much the same, but it's drastically different than Buffy. It's but we basically sat down and we were like, okay, well, like if we're going to write something together, what is it? And so we just started talking, and I think one of our strengths is that with this kind of genre is that, so I hate horror, like I can't do it. And I like, oh my God, like watching Stranger Things, like the first season was terrifying for me. Like I turned it off like 4 times in the pilot and then finally like made myself watch it.
I was so happy when she finally watched Supernatural, because I've been trying to get her to watch it. And like,
the first season was rough. The first season was very rough.
I love horror, and like, so I didn't even think about it because I've watched so many like really terrifying horror movies that I can't even think of the first season of Supernatural as a horror show anymore.
I've gotten better.
But, like, you've gotten better. Well,
but when we when we watch when we first started writing,
so
especially,
I set you up for pain.
Yeah, thank you. I like finally caught up right in time for like the last season. But I do think that, but so basically when we first started writing, that was one of our strengths, was that we were coming up with this concept. And every time we'd get to a point where we would like, I would say, I would stop watching here. So then we'd be like, okay, well, how do we insert like, like something funny, or how do we like lighten it slightly to make it more of that like suspenseful thriller action adventure vibe without going like so far into like the Rachael would stop watching. So that was kind of like right. Would Rachael watch this? But yeah, we wrote the pilot within a week of coming up with the concept.
That's amazing.
We've obviously like workshopped it since then, but the bones are still very similar. And we just kind of like plowed ahead with it. We did a table read. We went ahead and did casting. That was kind of insane. Backstage promoted our show on like the 3rd day. And so we were sifting through like, what was it? Like over 1,000 submissions.
I think it was like 2,000.
Yeah. And that was us saying that you needed to have a reel to be considered. So it was huge. It was weird. We were getting emails from backstage being like, have you like auditioned for The Fallen yet?
Wow.
But yeah, and so we actually have kept a lot of the actors from that initial pool are still on board, and some of our biggest proponents and everything. And I mean, we really try to fight for our people, and so and so then from there it was filming concept trailer. You helped us with one of our promo shoots.
Thank you.
And we went to AFM. American Film Market was huge. We brought in one of our co-EPs there. And yeah, and we just learned so much there anyway, because there's so many different classes and everything and networking. And
it was a crazy 4 days. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that was definitely one of our key turning points was definitely AFM. I mean, we had to do all the work leading up to it. It's a lot of things that people don't realize, like getting your like one pagers and we had to get our like Bibles together, our pitch decks together. I mean, we walked in there with a 50-page pitch deck for the Fallen.
Yeah.
We went way over the top.
We felt really unprepared, but then when we talked to people, they were like, wow, you guys really had
like 10 different projects in one pagers. Like some of them were like in different forms of development. One of them was shot. And yeah, we walked in feeling very insecure and then started realizing that
we were also like definitely some of the youngest people there, so we were like, oh,
okay, that's awesome. You guys, that's amazing. Seriously, I'm really happy for you guys. Congratulations on the show, the series. I'm excited to see what comes from it. Like,
thank you. We're excited to get out of COVID lockdown.
Right? I was just about to ask you like about that, but really quickly, how important is it to, like, as far as writers and when you're making a story, to talk about, like, for a diverse character, so put in a character that's diverse? Like, how important is that for you guys?
Oh, it's very important for us. When we first came up with our core, like, 5, like, protagonists, kind of.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where we obviously knew, because our friend groups are diverse, our world is diverse. And so like for us, like we've always been very passionate about wanting to make sure that we provide as many opportunities as possible. And so it was one of those things where we start developing the character, we start talking through these 5 main characters and kind of taking those 80s like Breakfast Club type tropes and flipping them on their heads. And then we kind of stepped back after doing that, and we realized that, we actually had we had no white males in the group, and it wasn't like an intentional thing. It was just like we were talking through each character and what made sense and what we felt for each one.
We were thinking about our friend group too, because we were like kind of like, you base things off of what you know, and so we were like thinking about like some of the people that we know and like basing kind of the characters like looks and feels off of them.
There were a couple people that we wrote the roles for, because we were like, they like Alejandra
like having their
so well, and we were just like, okay, like she was like in our head before we cast her. We still went through the whole audition process, but she was that person that was like in our head visualizing because she just fit this world so well from the characters that she could play. So I mean, I think that it's very, very important. It's always such a fine line because you don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, obviously.
Yes.
And especially with COVID lockdown, and like, we're not yet at a level where we can afford to pay a writer's room. And so, I mean, we definitely have a lot of awesome topics that we're addressing in season 1. We have a lot of setup for a lot of great discussions like down the road that are more regarding race, but we're going to hold off on those until we have a writer's room that's diverse and can actually go through that. But we are getting, we are going to hire a consultant to come in that is a person of color to go through and make sure that the season 1 is like, is representing well. And we've always had a very open policy with our actors from the get-go that, if you feel like something is off, please talk to us. So I definitely, it's one of those things, where it's like, it's really tricky because I think that a lot of people get scared away sometimes from writing diverse cast right now because they're like, oh, well, like, I'm just like they're so afraid of figuring out the right way to do it that they just like hide from it. And so I think it's like this really interesting but important place to navigate right now in the industry is figuring out, how do we tell stories authentically without taking anyone's story and without like putting words in people's mouths, but like how do you do justice by it, even if you're a small production that doesn't, have the money to be paying an entire room full of people to do it. But for us, The Fallen, I think then one of the things too that's also been really interesting is watching how many people have like looked at it and they're like, well, it's an 80s concept. Why is it so diverse? And I think like one of the best exchanges that we had was one of our friends who's European, and he was like, was there this much diversity in the 80s? Because all he knows is American 80s media.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, it's not like you know, like BIPOC just like came out of nowhere in the 90s, you know, like everyone's been here, we just didn't see them in the media. And so that's one of the big things for us, is like kind of like you know, having a really awesome like 80s nostalgia piece, but it also, I mean, you know, that also represents like the actual culture of America.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly telling when we were doing our original pitch deck, because what we would do, our format with it was with the characters, and we have a huge ensemble cast with this, and there's, you know, like, it's incredibly diverse, and we've done that intentionally. But when we would basically have like two side by sides of like the kind of look we want for the character, and then the 80s look, like their general like vibe in 80s form. And with the ones that were already cast, we would have like the headshot and then the 80s vibe. So with a lot of our BIPOC characters, it was so hard to find pictures that looked like those characters from the 80s, like from 80s media. Like our the character Luke, character Luke, he is Black, and he's kind of, he's our like nerd trope, but he's not Urkel, but all we could find was Urkel. And so it was like,
oh my God, I think the first version of the deck, the only thing we could find that was actually 80s, it was just like a bunch of like white dudes in sweater vests. And I think that right now what we have is actually like it's actually like from like, it's like people now doing an 80s shoot was the closest we could get. We also really struggled to find good comparatives for our Asian American characters.
Interesting.
We spent hours.
Oh my God.
Because we wanted to find the right comparatives and make sure it was very clear that these characters are meant to be diverse.
Yeah.
And it was because we would like it, you know, we don't want to be misconstruing anything and like having like, we want to be like, no, these characters are diverse. We need to make sure that we have the right representation.
Well, and we want people to also like visualize the character that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, like you go through and then you visualize it a certain way, and like we just wanted to make sure that everyone like knew our vision up front, so they weren't just like, oh, I know the perfect like brunette, blue-eyed girl that would fit this.
And then we have to be like, actually, no, like that's not our intention with this. So.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I mean, you see the world, like with the industries, like it's starting to become more like, I mean, take it like you have like your Jordan Peele's and your those guys, even J.J. Abrams and Jordan Peele teamed up together to make that series, which was like, whoa, like that. I didn't think that ever happened, but that's actually amazing. So it's a really great time, and I'm so happy that you guys have done that. That's incredible. That's incredible. So kudos to you guys.
It's like one of those things where we're just like, you know, we were talking about it. We're just like, I don't know why this isn't like, it's been interesting watching how many people now, like right now after, especially with the most recent, you know, push in the BLM movement, which has been amazing with how much attention we've been getting on the industry as well and diversity. And it's funny how many people have looked at our concept and they're like, wow, you guys are like so on trend right now. And we're like, well, no, this is just like, this is what it's been for 2 years. You guys are just behind, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like we're just being like accurate to what actual communities are. Like it's not just like it's full of white people. Like it's like to that point where like I'm watching different shows now, and like it's distracting when it's just all one, like it's not diverse, it's just all white people, and it's just like, this is really distracting. Like, this is not how it would be.
Yeah, there was one show last night that we just watched where they actually had 3 diverse characters and they killed off 2 of them in the first episode.
Yeah, and that was a recent show, and we were
very like
jaw
came
dropped,
out
like we were floored.
like it was like it came out like a year ago. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just been very interesting. I think a lot of people always come up with excuses, but there's not really any excuses anymore, because it's not like we live in isolated areas, you know, where like you can say, well, I was only shooting my film here. Like we have, you know, there are so many resources and ways to pull actors and make sure that you get who you need.
Well, we have backstage now, we have actors access. Like you don't need to just pull from the people you know. Like, like even if your circle is non-diverse, like you put it on backstage, you're gonna get like
everyone's gonna go for that role.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to actors or just anyone that wants to get in this industry, what advice would you give?
I would say the biggest thing is, so first of all, like, you know, you got to put in the work. We meet so many people out here that are like, oh no, like I was always told I had a great look for this. And so then they, you know, they show up, they expect to get put in things and they have like no training. Like you need training, like whether that's going to classes, you don't necessarily need to go to college for it, but you know, like there's classes, there's lots of resources. You need to educate yourself first and foremost. But the other thing that I always encourage people is to like be well-rounded. Obviously you don't want to be so spread thin that you don't specialize in any one thing. But at the same time, I mean, us having a diverse training, even me being an editor has gotten us so many gigs, projects, abilities. Like we couldn't have done I mean, even down to the pitch deck would have cost us at least $1,000 to get made, but because, you know, we have like a graphic design and design experience and editing and stuff, like there's a lot of things that you can do for yourself. And just don't be afraid to create your own content. You know, you don't have to wait for someone to hand you an opportunity.
Yeah. And I would say, kind of one of my biggest lessons is just, well, first of all, I mean, don't give up. I mean, the thing that I've seen, like from people I've met and everything, is that you have to really be working at it, and you have to. Sometimes it takes a while, and it's hard not to get discouraged. But I mean, that was something that, like, you know, don't be afraid to make your own content. That was something where like we were getting a little bit discouraged after a while, and we were like, you know what, let's do something for ourselves. Let's make opportunities happen. But I mean, you really do have to love it, and you have to be willing to put in the right amount of work and show up for yourself. I think that's the most important thing, is to just keep believing in yourself and making sure that you're shaping yourself and your opportunities and your talent and everything in the right way, and putting the right amount of effort in. I think if you're doing that, then you're gonna, I feel like you don't, it's not as grueling as it seems when you love it and you're surrounding yourself with the right people and you have the right passion and belief.
Yeah, this industry is about who you know, but at the same time, if you are a go-getter that creates your own opportunities, you'll meet the people. You know, I mean, like it's mostly about tenacity. How long do you stay out here? How long do you believe in yourself? But yeah, I mean, like us creating our own projects led to us meeting other people who created their own projects, and then more and more and more, and most of them are now working on the fall. And it, you know, like it really all builds and snowballs. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this industry, is that you do get to choose who you work with. Not in every circumstance, but you know, but there's a lot of times that you can choose to work with people that you get along with. But similarly, you have to keep that in mind. Like if you go on to set being a diva, people don't like working with you. They're not going to work with you.
But it's about like finding people that inspire you and like make you want to work to keep going. Like, I mean, I don't really know even where I would be if like I didn't have Rachael too, because like I mean, this girl's a powerhouse, so she keeps like going. And like I'm one of those people where like I'm super passionate about what I do, and I when I'm really passionate about something, I will go and go, but I need that person that's doing that with me, you know, like I need somebody that makes me feel inspired. And it's really great to have, well, both Rachael and like our whole fall team, like everybody that's working on the fall, and it's inspiring when we get to talk to them. And it's like we get off our production meetings and we're like, yes, okay, let's do this. And it's really great to have that kind of like rising tide raises all boats type thing. Like it's not a competition, you're a team working towards something, and you're inspiring each other. And I think that that's really been our strength, is surrounding ourselves with people that inspire us. Like
that's beautiful.
But also Abby, Abby always sells herself short though too. That Abby is somebody too though that I've been very inspired by, because she focused so much on acting for so long. And makeup artistry. But I mean, like really, once we started taking the turn, I mean, writing was something that that you were already very good at. But once we started taking the turn into production, it would have been very easy to sit back, but she was always going, you know, how can I teach me? Like, how do I learn? Like, what can I do? And so like, that's definitely been, I mean, you've even AD'd on sets for me before. You know, it's definitely, I think it's definitely important, you know, just to find those people around you where it's like, once you form that group, it's like, can anybody do this? If somebody can't, who's going to learn? You know, like, get it done.
Like being willing to learn is super important, I think. And that's like, I mean, I've had moments where I'm like, where I like wish I had it like experience in film before I came out to LA, and I was just like, okay, well, I need to actually like, and I need to stop wishing and actually get experience, you know? So, I think it's a whole mess of things.
I love that. Okay, where can we find your handles? So people can find you and follow your pages and all that?
So the Fallen TV series, where we have a lot of our promo footage and pictures and lovely Meosha's in it. If you want to go check out her being all 80s. So that is at the Fallen TV series on Instagram, all one word. And then I'm Rachael, RACHAEL _Quinn, QUINNX. And
I am Abigail May Reed. So it's Abigail and then MAEREED.
Awesome.
Spell it.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. How you guys, really quick, how do you guys holding up with the whole COVID situation? You guys are good over there?
It's been good. We've just kind of been, I mean, like getting in the groove. It's been a blessing and a curse, you know, having less to do, but also just being able to get into a rhythm where our 9 to 5 is our show, you know?
Yeah. That's great.
It's hard. It's been we've been able to really spend a lot of time writing and kind of finish up the season and
getting other pilots underway and stuff like that.
That's good. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you guys for coming on. It was such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my God. Yeah, of course. Thank you. I'm not even in LA right now. It's like, I'm like near Atlanta. I was like, I got to get out of there. I got out for a minute, but I'll be back eventually. I'll be back.
We definitely miss you over here.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss you guys too. Miss you guys so much. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this episode. Until next time, live, love, laugh. Bye.
Bye.